The palace fell silent as the alien princess rushed into my arms. The grand palace hung silently above the city, a shining marvel of alien design. Towers curved impossibly, glinting in the light of twin suns, and strange energy fields hummed along the outer walls. Ethan Cole, a human engineer, moved carefully along the maintenance corridors. His boots clicked softly against the polished metal floor, echoing faintly in the vast emptiness. Normally, a palace like this would be filled with servants, guards, and scholars. Today, it was empty. A strange unease settled in Ethan's chest. He had been brought here to repair some of the palace's energy conduits, and though he had seen alien technology before, this place was unlike any other. It was alive, almost, but it didn't welcome him. He reached the main maintenance hub and set his tool bag down, surveying the complex panel before him. The alien interface glowed in shades of violet and silver, symbols shifting like liquid. Ethan frowned. He had studied these systems before, but something was different. The energy readings were unstable, as if the palace itself were holding its breath. He tapped the screen, sending a diagnostic pulse. The response was immediate. Alarms, blinking red lights. Ethan's heart jumped. He hadn't expected any immediate alerts. He looked around, trying to see what triggered the response. That's when he heard it, the sound of metal doors sliding open somewhere far ahead, a high-pitched whine that grew louder with every second. His instincts screamed at him to hide, but curiosity and duty pushed him forward. A shadow flickered across the far hallway. Ethan froze, and then she appeared, Princess Lyra. She was running, her robes torn and dust clinging to her skin and her eyes wide with fear. She stumbled, then caught herself, and before Ethan could react, she collapsed into his arms. "Help me," she gasped, her voice trembling but urgent. "They're coming. You have to get me out of here." Ethan stared at her, shock rooting him to the spot. He had worked on human colonies and even alien tech before, but he had never been this close to royalty, let alone in the middle of a life-or-death situation. Lyra clung to him, trembling, and he could feel the raw panic radiating from her. Around them, the corridors remained eerily silent, but the distant hum of approaching danger grew louder. Something had gone horribly wrong in the palace. I can help," Ethan said finally, his voice steadier than he felt. He scanned the hallway, looking for any way forward. The alarms continued to pulse, and somewhere beyond the corner, mechanical whirring suggested movement, guards, drones, he wasn't sure. "Come on, stay close to me." Lyra nodded and held on tightly. Ethan led her down a side corridor he had noticed earlier. The walls of the palace were alien in every sense, curving, flowing, and glowing with soft light. Panels floated midair, showing shifting maps of the city below. It was beautiful, mesmerizing even, but Ethan didn't have time to admire it. Every instinct screamed that they were being hunted. As they ran, Lyra's breathing slowed slightly, though her hands still gripped his arm. They want me dead," she said quietly, almost to herself. "My own council, they betrayed me." Ethan's mind raced. Betrayal within the palace? Assassins? Everything he had read about alien politics seemed tame compared to this reality. Yet here she was, running into a human's arms for protection. Ethan ducked through a doorway and found himself in a maintenance bay filled with humming machinery. He gestured for Lyra to follow, and she sank against a support beam, panting. He quickly scanned the area. There were tools, loose conduits, and an old service elevator. It might take them to another part of the palace, maybe even outside. But the doors at the far end of the bay suddenly hissed open, revealing the first of their pursuers. Tall, armored figures moved with terrifying precision. Their movements were too exact, too calculated. Ethan realized immediately they were not ordinary guards. He looked at Lyra. "We have to move now," she nodded. Without hesitation, she followed him as he pushed her behind a stack of crates. The armored figures scanned the room, their sensors glowing faintly. Ethan held his breath, searching for anything he could use. Then his eyes landed on the control panel for the service elevator. It was old, overlooked by the palace engineers, but he knew he could operate it. He jabbed at the buttons, cross-referencing the alien symbols with his human logic. The elevator doors slid open, revealing a narrow shaft that descended deep into the heart of the palace. Ethan helped Lyra inside, then pressed the button for the lowest level. As the elevator descended, he could hear the armored figures moving closer, their mechanical feet echoing through the metal floors. When they reached the bottom, the doors opened onto a labyrinth of maintenance tunnels. The air here was cooler, tinged with ozone from the palace's energy conduits. Ethan led the way, his hands brushing against control panels and exposed wires as he tried to stay ahead of their pursuers. Lyra followed silently, her fear slowly giving way to a strange trust in him. He wasn't royalty, he wasn't trained in combat, but he was thinking, acting, surviving. They ran for what felt like hours, winding through tunnels that twisted and turned in impossible angles. Somewhere above them, the sounds of the palace's battle, or perhaps the trap, continued. Ethan didn't know exactly who was after them, but every instinct told him it was deadly. And yet, through all of this, he noticed Lyra stealing glances at him, her eyes filled with awe and disbelief. He wasn't supposed to be her savior. Humans weren't supposed to be capable of this in her world. Finally, they reached a chamber that appeared to be abandoned for years. The walls were lined with old archives, dusty tomes, and strange alien devices that had been long forgotten. Ethan caught his breath and looked at Lyra. "We can hide here for a moment," he said, "but we need a plan." Lyra sank onto a bench, pressing her hands to her face. "I never thought I'd be running from my own people," she said softly. Ethan didn't respond immediately. He was already scanning the room, looking for anything they could use. A weapon, a map, anything that could give them an advantage. Then his eyes landed on a strange device tucked into the corner of the chamber. It was a small, handheld console, glowing faintly with alien symbols. Ethan picked it up, turning it over in his hands. "This might help us," he said. "If I can figure out what it does, we might be able to control some of the palace systems, maybe even trap them or distract them long enough to escape." Lyra looked at him, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time. "You can do that?" she asked. I think so," Ethan admitted. "I've worked with alien tech before. This is complicated but not impossible." As he studied the console, the distant hum of approaching footsteps reminded him that time was running out. Whoever had attacked the princess would not give up easily. Ethan felt a surge of determination. He was human, alone in an alien palace, but he had skills, he had instincts, and he had the drive to survive. And right now, that might be enough to save a princess, and possibly the entire palace. Lyra watched him, her expression a mixture of fear and admiration. "I never thought humans could be like this," she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He was focused, tracing wires and pressing symbols on the console. Slowly, a soft glow spread across the room as some of the ancient palace systems responded to his touch. The chamber hummed, energy flowing through forgotten conduits. Ethan realized with a thrill he hadn't expected that they were no longer entirely at the mercy of their pursuers. They had a chance, just a small chance, but enough. Ethan's fingers danced over the alien console, tracing patterns that seemed to shift under his touch. Symbols glowed brighter with each press, forming sequences he couldn't fully read but could understand well enough to manipulate. The device hummed, and panels in the room began to respond. Lights flickered along the walls, and a soft vibration ran through the floor. Ethan glanced at Lyra, whose wide eyes reflected both awe and growing confidence. "Is it working?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," Ethan said, trying to keep his tone calm. "If I can sync this properly, I can access some of the palace systems, maybe open doors, control drones, or even lock down sections." He paused, noticing a faint glow along the far hallway. "But we have to move fast." "They're not going to stop." Lyra nodded, pushing herself to her feet. "Then let's go." The princess followed as Ethan led her toward a side corridor that branched off from the chamber. The tunnels here were narrower, less maintained, and filled with cables and exposed conduits. Sparks occasionally leapt from the walls, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and metal. It wasn't the most comfortable place, but it was hidden from plain view, and that was enough for now. Ethan paused near a junction, listening. The metallic hum of their pursuers echoed faintly through the palace. He could hear the synchronized footfalls, the mechanical precision of armored units, and the occasional electronic beep that suggested scanning. Whoever they were trained, and their technology gave them a deadly edge. Lyra pressed closer to him. "They'll catch us," she whispered. "We can't keep running forever." Ethan shook his head. "No, we won't just run, we'll fight smart. Humans aren't strong like them, but we can think faster, adapt, improvise. That can make all the difference." They moved carefully through the junction, Ethan using the console to open a service panel on the wall. Inside were wires and conduits leading into the palace's broader network. With a few swift connections and adjustments, he triggered a sequence. Holographic projections flickered to life, showing schematics of the palace and corridors in shifting colors. He traced their pursuers' positions as best as he could. "Look," Ethan said, pointing at a red dot moving toward them. "They're here, but if I reroute the drones through these passages..." He tapped a few more symbols and lights blinked along the hallway. Suddenly, small maintenance drones emerged from hidden alcoves, moving erratically to block the corridor ahead. Their whirring and flashing created a distraction. Lyra blinked in surprise. "You're controlling them?" "Yes," Ethan said, a small smile tugging at his lips. "For now. It won't hold them long, but it's enough to buy us time." They slipped past the drones and continued deeper into the palace. As they moved, Ethan kept glancing at Lyra. She was smaller, lighter, but determined. She didn't hesitate, didn't falter. He realized that the fear in her eyes was not weakness. It was the kind of sharp, focused awareness that came from being hunted. Humans and aliens alike underestimated it at their own peril. Suddenly, the corridor split into multiple paths. Ethan held up his hand. "We have to pick the right one, wrong choice, and we could walk straight into them." Lyra peered down each passage, her expression tense. "I trust you," she said quietly. "You've kept me alive this far." Ethan felt a surge of responsibility. Her trust was heavy, almost tangible, but he also knew it gave him focus. He traced the map on his portable console and selected the path that led toward the palace's central archives, an old section rumored to contain hidden knowledge and control systems long abandoned by the council. As they ran, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Metallic clanks echoed down the walls and a high-pitched whine filled the air. Ethan pushed himself harder, pulling Lyra behind him. Then a sharp corner forced them to slow. Around it, a patrol of armored units moved in formation, scanning for any intruders. Ethan ducked into a small alcove, pulling Lyra with him. They pressed against the wall, holding their breath as the units passed by. Each movement was calculated, precise. One of the armored figures paused, its sensors sweeping over the alcove. Ethan felt sweat prick at his temples, but the figure moved on, apparently fooled by the shadows and the erratic drone activity he had triggered earlier. "Too close," Lyra whispered, her voice shaky but determined. Ethan nodded. "Yes, but we're still alive. Keep moving." The next section of tunnels opened into a vast chamber. Here, dust covered old machinery and stacks of alien data crystals. The air smelled musty, and broken cables snaked across the floor. Ethan quickly scanned the room, spotting a terminal embedded in the far wall. He ran toward it with Lyra close behind. "Help me with this," he said. Together, they lifted the terminal panel and exposed the inner circuits. Ethan's hands worked with practiced precision, connecting wires and pressing symbols in sequences that made Lyra flinch. Sparks flew, but nothing dangerous. Slowly, the terminal flickered to life, projecting a holographic map of the palace in green and blue lines. Ethan's eyes lit up. "This is it. From here, I can manipulate more systems, doors, defenses, even surveillance. We can create traps, distractions, anything we need." Lyra stared at the glowing map. "You're amazing," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "No, you're amazing. You've survived this long, stayed calm, and trusted a human you barely know. That's the real strength." She gave him a small, wry smile, and for a moment the tension eased. But the relief was short-lived. A deep, mechanical roar echoed through the tunnels, shaking the floor. Ethan turned toward the entrance they had come from. Drones and armored units were moving faster, clearly aware of their location. "Time to test the system," Ethan said. He pressed several buttons on the terminal and alarms blared. But instead of signaling their presence, the alarms triggered the palace's old defense mechanisms. Energy barriers shot up in key hallways and hidden turrets activated, scanning for movement. Some of the patrol units were forced to halt, unable to move past the barriers. Lyra's eyes widened. "You did all that in minutes?" Ethan shrugged, feeling a surge of pride. "It's human intuition. We improvise, adapt. You'll see it's not always about strength. It's about thinking faster than the enemy." They continued through the chamber, using the newly activated defenses to keep their pursuers at bay. The palace was vast, and Ethan's manipulation of the systems gave them a chance to move through sections that were otherwise blocked. Each step felt like a gamble, but with every turn they stayed ahead. Eventually, they reached a stairwell that led up toward the palace's central council chambers. Ethan paused. "If we can reach the council floor, we might find answers, maybe even evidence of who betrayed you." Lyra nodded. I need to know. I can't reclaim my throne if I don't. They ascended the stairs cautiously, the air growing warmer as they approached the upper levels. The corridors here were more ornate, decorated with alien tapestries that shimmered with light. It was a stark contrast to the dark, dusty tunnels below. But the beauty was deceptive. Ethan knew danger lurked behind every door. A sudden noise froze them. From the shadows, a figure emerged, human-shaped but with alien armor, moving silently. Ethan instinctively pushed Lyra behind him. The figure raised a weapon that pulsed with energy. Ethan ducked, grabbing a loose metal pipe from the floor. He swung it, striking the figure's weapon and sending it clattering. Lyra, reacting instinctively, kicked the figure's leg. Together, they managed to push it back into the shadows. The figure retreated, but the sound of reinforcements approached rapidly. "We have to move," Ethan shouted, grabbing Lyra's hand. "Follow me exactly, don't hesitate." They ran through twisting corridors, using the palace's own defenses and old maintenance routes to outsmart their pursuers. Ethan triggered a sequence that caused doors to slam shut behind them, trapping drones and soldiers in isolated sections. Lyra's confidence grew with each success, and she began to understand the power of human ingenuity when combined with courage. Finally, they reached a chamber high above the palace's central atrium. From here, they could see the city below, sprawling and alive under twin suns. Ethan caught his breath looking at Lyra. "We're not safe yet, but we've gained time, and we've learned something important. Humans can survive here. We can fight back." Lyra looked at him, admiration and gratitude in her eyes. "I never thought I'd be alive, let alone escaping my own palace, thanks to a human." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans are full of surprises, you'll see." But even as they paused, the distant hum of mechanical movement reminded them that the danger was far from over. Someone or something was still hunting them, and the palace, beautiful and silent, had more secrets waiting to be discovered. With renewed determination, they moved forward, ready to face whatever the palace and its traitors could throw at them next. Ethan and Lyra stood at the edge of the high chamber, catching their breath and watching the sprawling city below. The twin suns cast long, golden shadows across the palace, but beauty meant little while danger still hunted them. Ethan's fingers brushed the alien console he had carried with him, a tool that had saved them so far, yet he knew it could only do so much. "We need a plan," Ethan said. "We can't keep running forever. Eventually they'll corner us." Lyra nodded, her face set with determination. "I have to reclaim the palace. If my council succeeds in killing me, the city, even the entire planet, could fall into chaos. We can't just survive, we have to fight back." Ethan's mind raced. The palace itself was a fortress, but it was also a labyrinth of passages, hidden traps, and old security systems he could manipulate. And now, armed with the console and his quick thinking, they had the advantage of human adaptability. He took a deep breath. "Then we fight smart, not like soldiers, but like humans." Lyra raised her brow. "Humans?" "Yes," Ethan said with a small smile. "We're underestimated. That's our greatest weapon." They descended carefully from the chamber, taking the narrow stairwell that led to the palace's underbelly. The shadows here were long, and the air smelled of old metal and energy residue. Ethan paused occasionally to check the console, mapping the patrols and adjusting the palace's systems. Holographic doors flickered open ahead of them, allowing them to slip past corridors without detection. As they moved, Lyra's curiosity grew. "How do you know how to do all this? My palace engineers struggle with systems I've had for years." Ethan shrugged. "Humans don't always read the instructions. We improvise, we experiment. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Today it's working." They reached a wider corridor, one that led to a grand gallery filled with statues of the royal lineage. Light filtered in from above, illuminating the polished floors. It should have been a place of peace, but the tension was palpable. Ethan's eyes scanned every corner, expecting attackers. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind them. One of the palace's patrol units had discovered their previous path and was now pursuing them. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run." They sprinted through the gallery, dodging statues and leaping over fallen debris. Ethan's mind worked frantically. He noticed a control panel for a security turret on the wall. Without hesitation, he connected the console and rerouted its targeting system. The turret powered up, its barrel swiveling to cover the corridor behind them. Lyra's eyes widened. "You can control that too?" "Yes," Ethan said breathlessly, But only for a short time. It'll hold them off long enough for us to get through. The turret fired, sending a series of energy blasts down the corridor. The pursuing unit halted, stunned by the unexpected attack. Ethan and Lyra slipped past, adrenaline driving them forward. They reached a set of doors marked as the Council Archives. Here, Ethan hoped to find clues about who had betrayed the princess. The doors were locked, but he didn't hesitate. With a few quick adjustments, the console interfaced with the ancient mechanisms, and the doors slid open silently. Inside, the room was vast and dark, filled with rows of floating data crystals and holographic projectors. Dust covered the floors, indicating that few had entered this chamber for decades. Ethan ran his hand along the nearest console, activating a projection. A holographic map of the palace appeared, showing not only the hallways but also the location of the council chambers and private rooms. Ethan's eyes lit up. This is perfect. From here we can see exactly who controls what. We can even lock sections of the palace against intruders. Lyra studied the projection, awe on her face. All this and humans figured it out? Ethan smiled faintly. We have to adapt or die, that's the human way. They began scanning through the archives, searching for records of the council's recent actions. Files revealed betrayals, secret alliances, and plots against Lyra. Her most trusted advisors had indeed turned against her, plotting to eliminate her claim to the throne and seize control of the palace. This confirms it, Lyra said, her voice low and fierce. They've been planning this for months. I was right to trust no one but you. Ethan felt a surge of pride and fear. Protecting her was one thing, but now they had to strike back. We can't just survive, he said. We need to fight. We need to turn the palace itself against them. Lyra nodded. Then let's do it. Show them what humans are capable of. They spent the next hour preparing. Ethan used the console to manipulate the palace systems, doors, turrets, drones, and energy barriers. Every hallway could now be a trap, every room a tactical advantage. They set up distractions to confuse the enemy, creating illusions and false signals to mislead them. By the time they finished, Ethan felt a strange exhilaration. The palace, once a deadly maze for them, had become a weapon in human hands. Lyra looked at him, admiration shining in her eyes. You've changed everything. We might actually have a chance. They moved toward the council chambers, the heart of the betrayal. Ethan led the way, hacking door after door, rerouting patrols, and using the palace's defenses to clear their path. Every step was calculated, every move precise. The adrenaline kept them alert, but Ethan's mind was constantly working, predicting outcomes and improvising solutions. As they approached the council floor, they encountered their first real resistance. A squad of armored units blocked the corridor, their weapons glowing with lethal energy. Ethan whispered to Lyra, "We can't fight them head-on, we need a distraction." He activated a sequence on the console. Lights flickered and a series of holographic duplicates of themselves appeared in the corridor, moving in multiple directions. The armored units paused, scanning for the intruders. Lyra grinned, understanding instantly. "Humans are tricksters," she said. Ethan nodded. "And that's why we win." Using the confusion, they slipped past the patrols and entered a side chamber near the council floor. From here, they could see the main chamber through reinforced observation panels. Inside, the traitorous council members argued among themselves, unaware of the approach of their target and the human who had become her protector. Lyra's eyes hardened. "They'll pay for this, every single one of them." Ethan touched her shoulder. "We do this smart. We don't rush, every step counts. Use the palace, use your mind. You've survived this far because you adapted. Now we finish it." The moment of confrontation drew near. Ethan tapped the console, opening the main council doors just enough for a distraction. Drones swooped through, drawing attention and forcing the council members into defensive positions. Alarms blared, energy barriers activated, and the once peaceful council floor descended into chaos. Lyra moved with grace and determination, confronting her betrayers. Ethan supported her, manipulating the palace systems to block escape routes and isolate enemies. Each council member who had plotted against her was now trapped, unable to coordinate or flee. Amid the chaos, Lyra stood tall, a symbol of defiance and rightful power. Ethan realized then that it wasn't just her courage. It was the combination of human ingenuity and alien skill that was unstoppable. One of the council leaders, A tall alien with cold, calculating eyes attempted to escape. Ethan anticipated the move, activating a sequence that caused the corridor behind the leader to lock and seal. The leader stopped, realizing too late that their human adversary had outsmarted them. Lyra stepped forward, her presence commanding, and addressed the remaining council. "Your betrayal ends now," she said, her voice steady and powerful. "The palace belongs to its rightful ruler. Any further rebellion will be met with force." Ethan watched her, a mix of pride and awe swelling within him. Humans were often underestimated, but here, in the heart of an alien palace, his kind had made the impossible possible. Through strategy, quick thinking, and sheer determination, they had turned the tide. The council members, realizing their defeat, sank to their knees, powerless against the combination of alien technology in human hands and Lyra's authority. The palace, once a place of danger and betrayal, now recognized a new order, guided by the intelligence and courage of humanity. Lyra turned to Ethan, her expression softening for the first time since the attack began. "I owe you my life," she said. "Not just for saving me, but for showing me that even humans can be heroes in a world that doubts them." Ethan shook his head. "No, it's not just me, it's humans. We survive, we adapt, we fight when we must, and right now we've both survived and won together." The palace hummed softly around them, as if acknowledging the shift. Energy barriers powered down, drones returned to idle, and the oppressive silence of the palace was replaced with a calm that suggested balance restored. Yet, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and threats would come again. But for this moment, humanity had proven its value. Lyra took a deep breath and stepped toward the central console. She accessed the palace communication systems and sent a message to the loyal factions in the city below. "The palace is secure, the traitors are contained, the humans who aided me have proven their worth. Prepare for the new council." Ethan watched the holographic city below, lights flickering like stars. "You did it," he said softly. "You reclaimed your palace." Lyra smiled, though her eyes were thoughtful. "We did it. You and I together. Humanity has shown what it can do, not just survive, but protect, lead, and inspire. The galaxy might finally notice." Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The danger was not over, but they had turned the tide. And more importantly, humans had earned respect in a world that doubted them, showing that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome any obstacle, even among the stars. The palace, once silent and foreboding, now seemed alive with a sense of purpose. And as Ethan and Lyra stood together, looking out at the twin suns setting over the city, they both knew that this victory was only the beginning. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The calm after the storm in the council chambers lasted only moments. Ethan and Lyra had regained control of the palace, but the distant hum of approaching fleets reminded them that victory was temporary. Outside, in the skies above the palace, enemy ships were gathering. The traitorous council had allies beyond the palace, mercenaries, hired warriors, and even rogue elements of the city's defense fleet. Ethan realized that reclaiming the palace was only the beginning. The real battle had yet to begin. Lyra's expression was grim. "They won't stop," she said, her voice steady. "They'll try to destroy the palace to remove me completely. We need to prepare." Ethan nodded. "We have the palace systems under control. Now it's time to use them properly. You might be royalty, but the palace is my battlefield. And humans know how to fight smart." They moved quickly, going through the palace's upper chambers and activating defensive systems. Ethan tapped into every available mechanism: turrets, energy barriers, automated drones, and even the palace's older, forgotten weapon systems. Lights flickered across walls, panels shifted, and hidden compartments opened, revealing machinery that had not been used in centuries. Ethan manipulated it all, combining human ingenuity with alien technology in ways the palace engineers had never imagined. Lyra followed closely, marveling at his actions. "I never thought a human could control so much of my palace," she said. "It's not just control," Ethan replied. "It's adaptability. I don't follow instructions, I improvise. You'll see why humans are dangerous when underestimated." Outside, the first wave of ships entered the palace's orbital perimeter. Ethan watched the console, noting the positions and patterns of the approaching fleet. "They're testing us," he said. "Sending small groups first. They want to see if we're ready." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Then let's show them we are." Ethan triggered the first defense sequence. Automated turrets on the palace's towers powered up, energy shields expanded around the perimeter, and drones moved in precise formations to intercept incoming ships. The enemy fleet fired, but the palace defenses were prepared. Energy blasts met shields with bright sparks, explosions rocking the outer towers but leaving the palace intact. "Your palace isn't just surviving," Ethan said. "It's fighting back." Lyra watched the battle unfold from the observation balcony. "It's incredible, and it's you doing this, a human." Ethan smiled faintly, but his focus remained on the console. He monitored the enemy ships, predicting their maneuvers and activating countermeasures. The human's strength was not in physical power, but in adaptability. For every attack, Ethan improvised a counter, turning the palace itself into a weapon. As the enemy fleet pushed closer, Ethan noticed a squadron attempting to flank the palace from an unexpected angle. "They're trying to sneak past the defenses," he said. "We can't let them get behind us." Lyra's expression hardened. "Then we stopped them." Together, they activated a hidden sequence. Energy nets rose along the flanks, catching several ships in mid-flight. Turrets fired, precision energy blasts cutting through the hulls. The enemy squadron faltered, forced back into the main field where the palace defenses could handle them. Ethan's hands flew across the console, rerouting power, recalibrating weapons, and improvising in real time. "You're incredible," Lyra said, her voice full of admiration. "It's not about me," Ethan replied. "It's about humans. We survive, adapt, and win in ways that others don't expect." The battle escalated. Enemy ships swarmed in waves, each more aggressive than the last. The palace shuddered under the bombardment, but Ethan's ingenuity kept it standing. He activated old defensive drones, sending them into the skies to intercept attackers. Some drones crashed, but many held their ground, disrupting enemy formations and buying time. Inside the palace, Lyra moved to rally loyal forces. Soldiers who had once doubted her now followed her lead, inspired by her courage and the precision of Ethan's tactics. She coordinated with them, directing them to reinforce weak points, set traps, and defend key corridors. Together, human ingenuity and alien loyalty formed a seamless team. Ethan watched the skies through the holographic map. "We can't just defend forever," he said. "We need to take the fight to them, hit their command ships before they regroup." Lyra nodded. "Then we do it. Show them the strength of a human-alien alliance." Using the console, Ethan rerouted energy from defensive systems to create a temporary corridor of fire and light through the battlefield. Enemy ships were caught off guard, their formations breaking as the palace unleashed a coordinated strike. Laser bursts, plasma energy, and automated drones combined to create chaos in the enemy ranks. The palace wasn't just defending, it was attacking, turning the tide of the battle. Lyra led a strike team to secure the palace's outer towers, where the enemy tried to land boarding parties. Ethan provided support from the console, opening gates, activating turrets, and setting traps for intruders. The combination of human strategy and alien resources overwhelmed the attackers. Amid the chaos, Ethan noticed the lead enemy commander attempting to retreat to a massive command ship. "They're trying to escape," he said. "We can end this now." Lyra looked at him, determination blazing in her eyes. "Then we stop them. No mercy for those who tried to destroy my people." Together, they launched the final sequence. Energy beams from the palace towers converged on the command ship, cutting through shields and hull with precision. Drones swarmed around it, disabling navigation systems. The enemy commander realized too late that he had underestimated the humans. His escape was blocked, his forces scattered, and the battle was turning decisively. Ethan's hands flew across the console, adjusting energy flow and rerouting power to maintain pressure. "We've got them," he said. "Just a little more." The enemy fleet faltered, their formations broken. Many ships were destroyed, others forced to retreat. The palace's defenses held, and the combined human-alien strategy had won the day. Lyra watched from the balcony, her chest heaving with relief and pride. Ethan turned to her. "We did it. The palace is safe. Your people are alive, and we've proven that humans are not to be underestimated." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. "You're right. They will never forget this day. Humanity has shown its strength." The palace was battered but intact. Soldiers and drones moved to secure remaining threats, while Ethan monitored the retreating enemy fleet. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Humans had fought alongside aliens, using intelligence, creativity, and courage to triumph over superior forces. It was the essence of what made them remarkable. Lyra turned to him. "Ethan, I owe you more than my life. You've not just saved me, you've saved my people, my palace, and my throne." Ethan shook his head. "No, it's not just me, it's humans. We fight, adapt, and survive. And today, we've proven that even against the impossible, we can succeed." The twin suns dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the palace. The city below slowly came alive again, citizens cautiously emerging to witness the battle's end. Murmurs of awe and gratitude spread. Lyra's authority was restored, strengthened not just by right, but by action. Ethan and Lyra walked through the corridors, observing the aftermath. Soldiers and engineers worked to repair damage, while automated systems managed energy flow and security. The palace, once a symbol of isolation and alien superiority, now represented a bridge between worlds, a testament to what humans could achieve when underestimated. Lyra paused near a central balcony, looking out at the horizon. "This victory, it changes everything. Humans are no longer just visitors. They are allies, protectors, and perhaps even heroes." Ethan nodded. "We'll show them what humans are capable of, not just surviving, but thriving, adapting, and leading. Today was just the beginning." They stood together, silent, as the palace hummed around them. Outside, the retreating enemy fleet faded into the distance, a reminder that the galaxy was vast and threats were endless. But within the palace, humanity had proven itself. Lyra turned to Ethan, a spark of determination in her eyes. "We will rebuild, we will strengthen our defenses, and we will prepare for what comes next, and you, human, will be by my side. Together, we will show the galaxy that underestimating us is the gravest mistake anyone can make." Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. He had not only survived an impossible situation, but had led humans to victory in an alien world. The palace was secure, Lyra's throne was stable, and humanity had claimed its place in the stars. As the twin suns set completely, casting a golden glow across the city and the palace towers, Ethan realized one truth. Humans were not just part of this universe. They were a force to be reckoned with, and together with allies like Lyra, they could face any challenge the galaxy presented. For now, the palace stood as a beacon, a reminder of courage, ingenuity, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity. And Ethan, once a simple engineer, had become a symbol of what humans could achieve, even in the heart of an alien empire. The calm after the storm was real this time, but both Ethan and Lyra knew that this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had just made its mark. The palace was quiet now, but the air still held tension. Outside, the last remnants of the enemy fleet were retreating, their ships shrinking into the distance. Inside, Ethan and Lyra moved through the halls, surveying the damage and coordinating repairs. Soldiers, both human and alien, worked tirelessly to restore order, while drones scuttled through corridors, repairing broken systems and reinforcing defenses. The palace, once a symbol of fragility and betrayal, now hummed with life and strength. Lyra paused at the top of the grand staircase, looking down at the courtyard where citizens gathered, some in awe, some in cautious celebration. She turned to Ethan, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and pride. "We've done it," she said softly. "The palace is safe. My people, they're alive. We've won, Ethan." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "We've survived, yes, but won. The galaxy isn't quiet yet. Others will come, others will test us. But what we've done today shows something important. Humans are not to be underestimated." Lyra walked beside him, her robes brushing against the polished floors. "I never imagined a human could do so much. You've not only saved me, but you've proven that humans can lead, fight, and protect in ways even the most advanced alien minds can't predict." Ethan laughed softly. "You give us too much credit. We just think differently. We adapt. That's our strength. And sometimes that's enough to turn the impossible into possible." They reached a large observation balcony overlooking the city below. The twin suns were rising again, bathing the palace and the sprawling metropolis in golden light. Citizens moved through the streets, repairing damage and sharing stories of what had occurred. Ethan noticed children pointing toward the palace towers, wide-eyed with wonder, as if witnessing a legend in the making. Lyra's gaze followed theirs. "They will remember this day," she said. "Not because of the enemy who attacked, but because of the humans and loyal citizens who defended the palace. They will tell stories about courage, ingenuity, and bravery. About you. Ethan shook his head. Not just me, about all humans. We adapt, we survive, and when we must, we protect others. That's the human way. Today, we've shown it to your people. The distant hum of repairs and activity filled the balcony, and for the first time since the attack began, Ethan felt a calm he hadn't experienced in weeks. He glanced at Lyra. "What happens now?" he asked. She turned toward him, her expression determined. "Now we rebuild, we strengthen the palace, restore trust, and ensure that no one can ever threaten this city or my people again. And you will remain by my side. Your skills, your courage, they've changed this place forever." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "By your side, you mean as an advisor?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Not just an advisor, someone who understands both humans and aliens, someone who can bridge the gap. You've proven your value. More than that, you've earned my trust." He felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride and humility. I'll help," he said. "But not because I have to, because I want to. Humans survive best when they choose their path, and right now my path is here, with you." Lyra's smile widened, and for the first time Ethan saw a flicker of vulnerability beneath her royal composure. She placed a hand on his arm. "Then we will face the future together. The palace is secure, my people are safe, and humanity has shown that it can rise to the challenge. But we cannot forget, this is only the beginning." Ethan nodded. "Agreed. The galaxy is vast and threats will come again, but today proves one thing: humans are not just survivors. We are protectors, we are strategists, and we are a force to be reckoned with." They moved through the palace together, checking systems, speaking with soldiers, and ensuring that all defenses were fully operational. Ethan marveled at the combination of human logic and alien technology at work. Drones and turrets responded instantly to his commands, while Lyra coordinated human and alien soldiers in a seamless display of cooperation. Hours passed, and as the sun climbed higher, the palace began to feel alive again. Citizens entered cautiously, bringing supplies, repairing structures, and sharing stories of courage and survival. Ethan and Lyra walked among them, listening, guiding, and encouraging. Every smile, every sigh of relief reinforced the victory they had fought so hard to achieve. In a quiet chamber, Ethan paused, watching Lyra speak with a group of young soldiers. He realized how far she had come, from a hunted princess to a confident leader commanding loyalty and respect. And alongside her, humans had carved their place in the palace's history. Lyra noticed him standing apart and motioned for him to join her. He approached, and together they looked out through the chamber's wide windows at the city below. The twin suns reflected off the palace towers, illuminating every corner with light. "I never thought I'd see this day," Lyra said softly. "The palace secure, my people safe, and humans proving their worth. You've shown me a perspective I never expected. I will never doubt humanity again." Ethan smiled. "And I've learned that bravery isn't about species or strength. It's about courage, determination, and the will to survive and protect. Humans, aliens, it doesn't matter. Today, we've both proven it." They stood in silence for a few moments, listening to the distant sounds of repair and life returning to normal. Ethan felt a sense of calm, knowing that for now, the palace was safe, and Lyra's people had hope. Suddenly, the palace's communication system activated, displaying a holographic signal from a distant planet. Messages of congratulations, offers of alliances, and reports of enemy retreats streamed in. The galaxy had noticed the human-alien cooperation, and word of their victory was spreading. Lyra's eyes lit up. They know now. They know that humans are not to be underestimated. That our alliance is strong, that together we can protect more than just one palace, one city, or one planet. Ethan nodded. And they will remember it. Humans adapt, they survive, and when necessary, they protect others. We've set an example today, and the galaxy will take note. As the day continued, Ethan and Lyra moved through the palace, ensuring every corner was secure. Soldiers and citizens alike came to them, offering gratitude, questions, and cautious optimism. The palace, once a symbol of vulnerability, now stood as a beacon of cooperation, strategy, and courage. Lyra stopped in a quiet chamber, turning to Ethan. "You've done more than save me. You've changed my people's perspective on humanity. They will never underestimate us again." Ethan shrugged. "We didn't have to. We just had to show what we could do when underestimated. Humans thrive when they adapt, when they think, when they act. And today, we did exactly that." Lyra's expression softened. then humanity will always have a place here. By my side, in my palace, and in my people's hearts. Ethan felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. He had traveled through alien worlds, faced unimaginable danger, and survived against odds that no human should have. And yet here he was, standing in an alien palace, not just surviving, but respected, trusted, and valued. The twin suns continued to climb, bathing the palace in golden light. Ethan and Lyra watched from the balcony as the city below buzzed with life, a symbol of recovery and resilience. "We've done something incredible," Lyra said softly. "Not just for the palace, not just for my people, but for the future. Humans and aliens together can face any threat. We've proven that today." Ethan nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "And we'll face more. The galaxy is vast, filled with unknown dangers. But we've learned something important. Courage, intelligence, and determination can overcome almost anything. And humans, we will never be underestimated again." Lyra placed her hand on his arm. "Then let's make sure that the future is safe, together." Ethan smiled. "Together." The palace stood tall, shining in the sunlight. The city below flourished, alive with hope. And high above, in the observation towers and corridors, humans and aliens worked side by side, united by courage, respect, and the knowledge that when they worked together, nothing could stop them. For Ethan, the victory was more than survival. It was proof that humanity, though small in the galaxy, could rise to challenges that seemed impossible. They could adapt, fight, and protect. They could inspire, lead, and create hope where none existed. And for Lyra, the victory was more than reclaiming her palace. It was proof that alliances could transcend species, that trust could be earned, and that humans, unexpected, underestimated, unpredictable humans, could become the greatest of allies. Together they stood on the balcony, looking out at the city, the palace, and the horizon beyond. They knew the galaxy was watching, and now humanity had left its mark. The sun set, painting the palace in gold and crimson, and the night came alive with stars. The palace was safe, the people were inspired, and humanity had proven its place among the stars. For now, the battle was over, but the adventure was just beginning. And humanity, with courage and ingenuity, was ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. Ethan looked at Lyra, a quiet smile on his face. "We did it," he said. Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting both relief and pride. "Yes, together." And in that moment, high above the city, the palace stood as a testament to bravery, strategy, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity.